If you're so good at moving up the corporate ladder, why aren't you as good as moving up the family ladder? Think about that.
Yeah.
To me, that means that means you haven't succeeded in all arenas.
We've allowed social media to play a big part in how we perceive and how we interpret relationships. And so now, instead of looking for a man who has a vision, we're looking for a man who has a portfolio and money in his pocket. Like, if they're not talking about marriage with you, it means they're not thinking about you. They're just thinking about what they can do with you and use you. They don't see a future with you. They see something immediately. And so, or immediate. So I would say making sure that you are mindful that a wolf is going to be a wolf.
Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of Change Your Life podcast. I am so glad that we can come into your home or wherever you are. You might be driving or you might be at work with your headphones on. Make sure you don't get in trouble though. But I'm so glad you've come. Listen, continue to subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share so we can get this conversation to as many places and spaces as we need to do. I'm so glad that we've been dealing with the subject matter in February of relationship and how important it really is, because we need to navigate through this space because it helps us in our everyday life. I have with me in the studio the Pastor Josh Bair, the preacher's kid, and a preacher in his own right, who's doing great things. Amen. I'm so excited about those bit of static there. I'm so excited about your once a month meetings that have been fantastically attended. Your next one is in the harbor, right there.
Yeah. So we're downtown, Limitless Nights, and just expecting God to move in the city. I don't believe you can win a city unless you're in a city. And so we're right in the heart of the city, downtown, and God has been faithful. And so we're meeting on the 28th of this month. It's going to be an amazing time.
Good stuff. Listen, I'm glad you've come in. We've been talking about relationship, and we've been speaking about how important it is. We've been covering various aspects. And this is the finale. We're going to deal with being found and how to find. The Bible says this: he that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Are we saying that only males should do the finding?
Absolutely. Absolutely, that's what we're saying. He that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. It doesn't say she that findeth a husband findeth a good thing. So I think that scriptures are clear. Bible is clear. You got to do the finding. you gotta be a hunter, and she has to be like Ruth, gleaning in the field, doing something productive. And
so if she sees him and likes him, what does she do?
Makes herself noticeable. Not thirsty though. Don't be thirsty, but be noticeable.
Break that down.
Thirsty is trying to be seen and not being worth being seen. Does that make sense? So
sure.
You want to be seen, but all you have is all that you see. So you are surface, you're not substance.
Wow.
So you got a lot of sparkle, but you don't got a lot of substance.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah. So I think if a woman wants to be seen, she has to be a powerhouse of a Proverbs 31 woman, which is faithful, prayerful, persistent, powerful prayer warrior. Like that is what a Psalms 31 woman is. And so she's not just the cake, she's also the main course. You know what I'm saying? So she's just not candy. She actually has some nutritional value to your soul and your life. So that's what you want to be if you're a woman, and that's what you need to be looking for if you're a man.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask this. What qualities should a man be looking for in a potential wife, and what qualities should a female be looking for in a potential husband?
Yeah, I'll give you 3: faithful, focused, and persistent. Faithful, focused, and persistent. I think that men should be looking for women who are faithful, focused, and persistent. A woman that is focused is not worried about likes, comments, and DMs. She's focused. What is she focused on? Who is she focused on? I think you have to start asking yourself that. Like, is she focused on anything? Does she have any ambition in her? And that's different for every man, because some men are not looking for a wife that is trying to climb the corporate ladder.
Right.
But you have to know your appetite.
Sure.
Which means you got to know who you are, which is what a woman should actually be looking for. A man that knows who he is and has a vision for his life, doesn't follow trends, doesn't follow crowds, but he's following the call. Peter was in the boat and Jesus is walking on water. They perceive that it's a ghost. He says, Lord, if it's you, bid me to come.
Right.
Jesus says, come. Peter gets out the boat. What's funny about the story is Peter was the only one who got out. Jesus did not give any specificity to who should get out, but only Peter was bold enough to get out the boat because he wasn't focused on following the crowd. He was listening to the call.
Sure.
That's the kind of man you should be looking for, sis. You should be looking for a man who is listening and responsive to the voice of God.
And the man should be looking for?
She has to be focused. She has to be faithful. She has to be persistent.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think what you've just mentioned in terms of what the ideals that she should be looking for and he should be looking for is consistent within the church right now?
No way.
No way?
No way. No way.
What's missing?
Everything. Everything. Everything
Right.
is. I'm joking, but in all seriousness, a lot of it is missing. We've allowed social media to play a big part in how we perceive and how we interpret relationships. And so now, instead of looking for a man who has a vision, we're looking for a man who has a portfolio and money in his pocket. Now, instead of looking for a woman who has real substance, we're just looking for eye candy. That's what the fellas are looking for. So some of the cultural norms have seeped into our churches and have changed our appetite for what is biblical and what is actually true. But if you're going to really get this thing right and find the right person, you gotta get yourself right first. So you got to change the way you think. You got to really look at what is culture saying, and does that really actually align to what the Bible is saying? What is the biblical grounds for what I should be looking for? Proverbs 31 gives us a clear indicator of what a man should be looking for and what a woman should be trying to become. So
and vice versa.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because the man has to also work on himself as well.
Yes, but I'm not looking for a man to be a Proverbs 31.
No. He's got a different set of attributes that he needs to.
Yeah, but his
because that goes into my other question about compatibility. And basically, you've got people on different levels. And this throws up another set of dynamics because we're producing now the more dominant alpha female and the more less dominant
You going there?
passive male.
You going there?
This is the reality on the ground. So that's a strange, not a strange, but a more intriguing dynamic.
Modern women.
And then you're also dealing with other dynamics where you've got the alpha male and the alpha female in the same sphere.
Yes.
How are we going to navigate through this? Because there needs to be a distinguishing of positioning, roles, understanding. So what would you say about that? Because, you know, it can cause a bit of a stir, potentially.
When looking?
Yeah, when looking. So
Yeah.
you're looking, but obviously you're preparing yourself when looking. How do you then deal with that in terms of getting yourself ready? Or is there something you need to look for that you navigate around that potential space if it's not an ideal and not biblical?
Yeah, I think in this whole social media place that you can swipe right, swipe left with the dating apps, it's not real. It's really, it's not, it's very surface. It's not deep. It's not divine. It's not, this is my God-given person to help to fulfill the God-given vision that he's given me. So you can't find it like that. Some people say they are, but I'm not too sure about that. I think the biggest struggle is people think that they can shop for it. So they're shopping, they swiping, but it's too many options leave to, what's the word I'm looking for? Too many options leave us.
See, and I also think what you're saying, which is brilliant, I also think that when we talk about the finding, I think we do need criteria. And I also think we need discussion.
Yes.
You meet somebody,
right,
and they're the perfect person, whichever way, male or female.
Right.
But you've got to find out, you've got to go beyond that veneer
right,
of, okay, he opened the door for me or she bought me a gift.
Yeah.
You've got to go into, okay, where are you want to go in life? How do you see this working? How do we deal with this difficulty? Where do our positions align? Or where do our roles take place? And that way you should be able to understand each other. Perhaps, not even perhaps, absolutely premarital counseling is essential to discuss. Because also people have had different experiences.
Yeah.
There's abuse people's been through.
Yeah.
Physically, sexually as well. And that can play a role as well in things. So I feel that's another angle on what I'm saying, that I want to know where do you think, you know, we are and where we roll, you know, how our roles are and how we deal with certain difficulties that may come up. Obviously, we can never equate for every scenario, but as long as you know, where you are in the majority, I think that's very important.
I'll say this. I completely agree with what you're saying. I think you need to have the hard questions up front.
Yeah.
Ask the hard questions up front. Don't wait until you get to the wedding day to start having hard questions.
Or in the marriage as it goes along.
Yeah. Be proactive. Don't be reactive. You need to have the hard questions. Now, let me set a caveat to that. You're not asking hard questions on the first date.
Because you don't want to scare him.
Yeah, like, what's your 5-year plan in 15 years on the first date? Whoa. Slow down.
You scared me off.
How many kids? Slow down. Let me enjoy the freshness and the newness of what this could potentially be. chemistry is really important. And when you meet somebody for the first time, you're more likely to be open and receptive in the dating space. So keep that energy and that chemistry easy. Don't ask the hard questions on the first date. You want to,
And there's a way.
We just want to get through the first one first.
And there's a way to ask the hard questions.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially.
Mm-hmm.
If me and you are sitting down at lunch, as friends, and I present to you my value.
Yeah.
As a preacher, as a friend, as
Yep.
a businessman, this is what I bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
That will immediately, or should, activate you to also present your values.
Yeah.
So in other words, I don't need to say to you, what have you done? What have you achieved? What values have you got? I just need to tell you what mine are and see potentially what your response is, which is a softer kind of way to do it. Because if you sort of sit down with a demandative list, that can be off-putting.
Yeah.
But if the person has no response, then it's like, okay, that's a communication of and by itself. So I think there's ways to do things as well.
Yeah, I would say that.
As you get deeper into the relationship, then you can just be quite direct.
Right, you can. I think the three F's are faith, finance, and family. Those should be like fundamental, foundational questions that you should be asking, male or woman. Faith, where's your faith? What's your financial situation like? And that doesn't mean, and that's not the first day, but we should know at least the first date about your faith. I don't have to know your finances immediately, but that needs to be a question. And then I need to know about family, where you come from, what you come from. And that's not the first day, but that's some dates after. But faith should definitely be talked about on the first day. I think so. And that doesn't mean like, are you saved? You can be more flirtatious and coy about how to speak about faith. Like, I was thinking about this the other day, and God,
I agree.
You need to be talking about faith.
And
Where's your faith?
I also think that we need to also caution our criteria and lists with looking for potential more than the finished article. Because, again, in this era that we're living in, everybody's presented the finished article. If you go for the finished article, that can be real short-sighted.
Yeah.
I'm sure if any of our spouses wanted the finished article up front, then we wouldn't meet the criteria. And ultimately, if you read the Bible is really about a lot of people that were full of potential. David was just a shepherd, an insignificant shepherd. Jesus was born in a manger. And most of the biblical characters,
humble beginnings.
Very humble beginnings. But he had kingship potential. So what I'm saying is that when you're looking for somebody, look for potential. It's like anything in the stock market. You don't buy a stock that's reached its optimum. That's usually very expensive, and it's not going to climb any further. You look for something that's low and then becomes high.
Yeah.
And then you kind of buy into that. And I think that, and it goes both ways. She must have this, she must look like this, and all of that. You got to be able to look at her and say, you know what, with my input, this is going to be the finished article that I really want it to be. Because don't you believe that that's what God's put in us, creativity and building and that sort of thing? What do you feel about that?
I feel everything you said was absolutely right. They call them KPIs, key performance indicators. So when you are dating, if the person has potential, you should be looking for KPIs, key performance indicators. In other words, there are certain things that they are doing currently that is going to help them get to what they eventually want to do and what they said they want to do. So if they talk in a good game, but they don't have the KPIs, then you know this is not a person that you need to be investing your time with, because there's not performance indicators in the relationship that are showing you that they were going to do what they said they were going to do. And so I think everybody has potential, but I think the difficult thing is, if we're going to speak truthfully about potential, sometimes we fall in love with potential. And when we fall in love with potential and don't have those KPIs in place, we end up disappointed because the person doesn't do what they said that they were going to do.
Yeah.
So my thing is, just don't fall in love with the potential. Make sure that you have some frames of reference so that if he said he was going to do this in the next 30 days, look to see if he was able to accomplish that. If she said she was going to do such and such and such, and you can do this in the dating game, you don't have to wait 5 years. No, you should be able to see if this person is really a person of their word. Bible says iron sharpens iron. Some of us think that loyalty is we think that loyalty, just because I'm loyal, doesn't mean they deserve something. Some people are loyal because they don't have anything. They don't have any other time. They don't have any other place to be. You are their whole world. So that's like a key performance indicator. Be like, no, I don't want to be your whole world. I want to be a part of it. I don't want to be all of it.
And going back to your key performance indicator, which I think is a brilliant analysis.
Yeah.
You said something that's so true. But you're dating someone or getting to know someone, your friends, whatever area you are, what they say and the things they say they're going to do, if they don't do it, then that's a real problem. Unless there's a good reason for it.
Right.
And that really sends tremors throughout the whole relationship, I feel, because you've reneged on what you said you would do. And that is a real blight to me. I just believe it's important to do what you say.
Let your yes be yes and your no be no.
Yeah, and to have drive as well, to have passion, to have energy.
Yeah.
And I think these things are quite important, and to remain consistent.
Right.
Remain consistent. You don't want to get married, find the person, and then start dropping things because you've now got the person. Now you're not interested in driving and being consistent. Right. I think that's a real problem. Let me ask you this. Here's an interesting space to navigate through. When you're looking, you want to be found, you're in that space where you're preparing yourself and etc. There are people who take advantage of that.
Take advantage of
the fact that another person's looking for a spouse. They take advantage of it. There's a lot of people out there who just want to date, try out the relationship, potentially be romantic with the person, and then move on to 2 and move on to 3. And so they're presenting themselves in a way that they really aren't. It's a veneer.
Sheep's and wolves.
Right.
Yes.
So how do you spot the sheep from the wolf with the sheep's clothes on?
A wolf is eventually going to show its teeth. Because their appetite is different than the sheep's appetite, right? So the wolf's appetite is that of it needs meat. And so it needs to constantly conquer something. Always has to conquer. He wants to test drive, she wants to test drive the car, but never buy the car. There are always indicators with those kind of people. And so very practical. if it's getting to the point where you feel like this could potentially be the person for you, has the person ever brought up marriage with you? Like, if they're not talking about marriage with you, it means they're not thinking about you. They're just thinking about what they can do with you and use you. They don't see a future with you. They see something immediately, and so or immediate. So I would say making sure that you are mindful that a wolf is going to be a wolf, a fox is going to be a fox, a snake is going to be a snake. And if you wait it out and don't prematurely move too fast with this person and really use discernment, you'll discover these traits were there all the time. You were just so love drunk that you didn't pay attention. Put the love drink down, get sober-minded so you can see, be prayerful about this person, because they'll eventually show themselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
So you're saying slow it down. Don't hand out too many benefits.
Yeah.
In either direction. Sometimes that can be financial, it can be emotional, sexual. So slow it down and wait and see what the person is like.
And I'm going to say this, and I don't know how far we can go with this. I think before, we live in a culture that we don't even give ourselves emotionally first anymore. We are more prone to give ourselves sexually first and then deal with the emotional repercussions of a decision that we made when we didn't settle, when we settled. And so be patient. Patience is a virtue. You got to really sit in the seat and really discern, because who you marry changes the course, quality, and the trajectory of your life. So if you are connected to someone that doesn't see what you see and want what you want, it'll ruin your whole life.
Wow.
Your destiny will literally not just take a detour, it'll go in a whole completely
so it can either work for you or against you, depending on how you do it.
Yeah. So you got to really take it seriously. I think so many people are so serious about everything else in their life. I mean, some people are serious about their health. Some people are serious about their finances. Some people are serious even spiritually, but they're not serious about the person that they believe that God wants them to do life with.
Yeah, see, I believe that the most important decision we could ever make in life is firstly God.
Yep. And then the
second is marriage.
Absolutely.
Because you're spending absolutely huge amounts of time and combining yourself with another person and all your efforts and so forth. And as you say, it's essential. And so that cannot just be entirely an emotional decision. It's also got to be a psychological decision. So you've got to see what's in front of you.
Yeah.
What else do you think can be done in terms of making sure he could be a player, she could be a player? How do you make sure or stop that from taking place? Would you say meeting or bringing that person to meet with your pastor or your parents or people that you really value would be good? Because right now in this room, there are several cameras picking up different angles. And there are angles one camera will pick up that another may not. So you need different angles. And I'm not talking about just saying my friends, I'm talking about people who are mentors, that have, a level of authority, wisdom, and sight. How valuable do you think that is?
Yeah, I think one of the most powerful statements my coach has ever told me was, we don't live at the level of our dream, we live at the level of our team. So teamwork makes the dream work, but if the people on your team don't have vision for where you want to go, when you bring somebody else to them to ask, is this the person for me? They might not have the capacity to see, like you said, each camera, there's several cameras in here. They're showing many different angles, many different viewpoints. But each camera has a different lens on it.
So you have to have quality cameras and quality lenses.
Yeah, so you just can't have great people. You have to have people with great vision for not just who you are, but who they believe God is created you to be, not just now, but in your future. And so bringing that person around those quality people. For me, I didn't expose my wife to my parents until I was sure. I didn't expose my wife to my friend group until I was like sure. And then when I was sure, I still wasn't sure, if that makes any sense. So even when I was sure about her, I still wasn't.
You were sure enough to bring her around.
Yeah, I was
not sure enough
to marry her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sure enough to bring you around, but I'm not sure enough to marry. And that's okay, because it's a very key and critical position in somebody's life is a partner, a marriage. So a partner in marriage. So I didn't bring her around, but when I brought her around, I was open to people's critique. So I wasn't in there defending her either.
So you didn't let them make the decision.
No.
But you were open to hear what they had to say in terms of
I was listening to the critiques, because I was already enthralled with her. So like you need people to sober you up that can see the things that you can't see. Because when you start bringing them around your friends and your pastor, or your parents, or the people that are high capacity people in your life, they need to be able to see her or see him in a way that you can't see them, because you kind of blind right now. So you gotta get some high value people to get their eyes on her, get a gauge of her spirit or his spirit. I had a mentor that told me, you need a woman that's going to challenge you. And although I disagreed with her then, I kind of agree now. Now I do. But my wife doesn't challenge me like she used to. Now she encourages me to do.
Because you passed the test, Doc. Once you pass those tests, then it goes from challenge to encouragement.
Glory to glory. Faith to faith. So yeah, get some people on your, get some spiritual people.
And we're going into something, I think this is important, because if you're going to find the right person, you're going to find them in the right environment. So here's the deal. That circle is usually an indication of where you are. Mm-hmm. And if your circle isn't strong, that means you're not strong. Mm-hmm. And that's why you're producing that circle, because really we're the subtotal of the closest people that are around us. And how I improve my circle is I improve me. Mm-hmm. So I pour into myself, how I pray, how I fast, how I read God's word, how I educate myself, get information, and excel and move to the next level allows me to upgrade my circle, which then usually means potentially I should find a better quality of person, or the quality I'm looking for. So if you're not getting the quality, it could then potentially mean there's still some self-improvement that's needed.
I agree that you are the sum total of the people that you surround yourself. Show me the 3 closest people to you, and I'll tell you where you're going in the future. Absolutely, I agree.
Or where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I agree with everything you just said. I think that we've got to get serious about us before we get serious about other people. And I know that probably sounds selfish, but when you get on a plane, the first thing they tell you after you put on your seatbelt and they're giving you the instructions, they tell you, in case of an emergency, put the mask on you first, because if you can't help you, then you'll be of no help to someone else.
Yeah.
And so I want to implore and encourage people, get serious about you, because like you just said.
Yeah, once you get serious about you, your environment improves, the people around you improves,
Yeah.
And therefore you're more likely to get more likely
But
to be able to potentially get a person that's more suited to you, and your circle will be able to vet them better because you've got
Right.
a better or a more advanced
yeah,
quality of circle.
yeah,
So they'll be able to spot things
yeah,
that you may not be able to see.
yeah. I agree. I think
Yeah.
if you get better, your circle gets better. Your circle gets better. The quality. But sometimes, just sometimes.
No, come on, let's say it.
Sometimes
Yeah.
we've seen many people climb corporately and relationally, they're deficient.
Yeah, because they didn't listen. So here's the deal. Here's the
Oh my
Here's the
God.
challenge. We're talking about us getting better,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You don't just get better on one level. So you don't just get better in your profession without getting better in your character, without getting better in your emotions,
Okay.
without getting psychologically better. There are certain areas, like 5 areas, you've got to rise together. If you just get successful career-wise, but not in other areas,
Yeah.
that's going to be a real big problem.
Yeah.
And that's why we've got very successful people that end up crashing enormously because they were only successful in one sphere or one arena, but they didn't carry it all together.
True.
So basically, you got successful financially, but not as it relates to
Relationally
in your circle.
yeah.
And a lot of those people are told, but they're so egotistical, but they were told, I don't think that's good for you. And they ignored it.
Right.
And it causes down the road, they regret it.
Hyperfocus is what it's called. When you are fixated on climbing the corporate ladder, so you're deficient in other areas, so you don't do the work that is needed to have sustainability relationally in your personal life.
Because you haven't worked on your character.
You haven't worked on you.
Because here's the challenge as well.
Yep.
You get married, you've got married. You get married, and when you meet your spouse, they're at one level, okay? And you're on a similar, usually, footing or whatever footing you're on. It doesn't really matter. One of those in that marriage could excel enormously, okay?
Yeah.
And the other person could somewhat stay around the level that you met them at.
That happens a lot.
So here's where the character part comes in. Do I swap them out for somebody who's now at my new level, or do I take the current one and bring them to this new level I'm at? That's a whole new energy.
Yeah.
To take someone who is maybe quite passive, quite calm, and pour into them. See, this is what character, I believe, is.
Yeah.
Pour into them. Because remember, they've been there for you at some capacity, because you couldn't have got there usually without some type of contributing from the spouse that you had that helped you accelerate. So do I then come back down because they've not got there with me and bring them up? That's a whole nother level of prayer, talking to God. And that's a part of character. Or do I just say, man, this is too tough, I tell you what.
Yeah.
You know, so that, and then you end up with a whole mess by swapping them out.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a new model car, so now you want a new model wife, you know?
Right. Right, exactly. I think...
So the point I'm making is, I think character is an essential element of these things.
Yeah.
And if we work on that, we'll be able to find the person better. Our surroundings will be able to vet who they are, and we won't, have some of these challenges.
Yeah, you said several things that piqued my interest just now. When I was in marriage counseling, the person that did our marriage counseling said, if he or she doesn't change from today, never change, could you still be with them for the rest of your life?
Wow. What did you say?
I said yes.
That's amazing.
She said yes. Because...
Do you think that would have held true when you're now in the marriage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we discussed it in another episode. But when I met my wife, I was not making as much as my wife.
Yeah.
So she loved me at that level. She was willing to say, if he never makes any more money than me, this is my guy. If he never grows up any more in his maturity, in his spirituality, this is my guy. So,
And
obviously,
I tell you what is actually, and I'm going to say this for the viewers, actually very fascinating about that is when you look at your wife's father, Bishop Brown. He's enormously successful and massive mega church. I mean, I've been there, preached there several times. So the fact that, you know, being his actual biological daughter, growing up around all of that, is willing to say if he doesn't make any more, it's fine.
right.
Because the example was set for her, you know, but she's at a place where she's able to say, you know what, I'm cool like this.
Yeah, but
I think that's excellent. And not just cool like this and then treating you in a way, because there's women that
subservient,
yeah, because there's situations where the female can be earning more, or the male, and they use that as a form of machoism.
Yeah.
But to be able to do that and still maintain character and stay in space, I think that's royal. That's great.
Yeah, but it speaks more about where she comes from. So everything that he's obtained is because he's a high character person. So he produced high character children.
That's good.
So we made a decision that we're going to create a house of high character people. Our daughter's high character. So she's a byproduct, not of the highlight reel of the success, but what he built his ministry on was core principles in the Bible, high character. And so when you talked about, you just said something about your character, and it made me think about what I just told you about with the, if she doesn't change, would I still marry her? And I said yes. But then it made me also think, they will change. They will change, though. The reality is people change.
Yeah.
Relationships change. The diamond changes.
If you're so good at moving up the corporate ladder, why aren't you as good as moving up the family ladder? Think about that.
Yeah.
To me, that means that means you haven't succeeded in all arenas. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I'm seeing what you're saying. I agree. And I'm saying, like, at the end of the day, the character has to be a Christ-centered character, because love is unconditional.
That's good. That's
Isn't
that what our vows are?
But yeah,
for richer, for poor,
so
for sickness and in health.
So if it's really unconditional, if love is patient, love is kind, if that is true, that means even if I'm climbing corporately, or I'm climbing in a personally, my development, my spirituality, my emotional intelligence, all of these things, if I'm growing and my spouse is not growing the same way, that means I still got to be kind and patient. That means, so what am I saying? So many marriages don't end up working. I know we're talking about dating, but so many people leave the dating space or leave that person because they don't understand, in the marriage rather, they don't understand that when they're growing, their knee-jerk response is to drag them with them to the next level. And when you drag your spouse to the next level, they end up wounded. So when you're patient, it doesn't even necessarily mean that you coming back down to pull them up. It means that you are journeying with them. So you are not afraid to expose and be vulnerable about the growth in your life. And by faith, that you hope that what you're exposing yourself to, your partner will also want to be exposed to.
I think that's great, because what we're really saying is when one grows, they both grow.
Right.
That's the point. It's not I grow, it's we.
It's not a me. It's not a me thing. It's a we thing.
It's a we thing.
Yeah.
So somehow we're doing this together, even if you physically are
Absolutely.
there. Let me say this though in closing, because this has been fantastic. These episodes on relationship, that in what we're saying, Pastor Bair, is that we need to have the right character, right spirituality, be in truth, have the right environment, right circle, right people around us that can help us select the right person, and make sure that we do it in the right way. And when we've got to come in with our eyes open, not our eyes closed. This is not the fantasy of what
you're trying to find a good thing.
It's the reality.
Right. You're trying to find a good thing.
Yeah, what is a good thing? This is the thing. So I think this has been really, really powerful. Did you want to say anything in closing, just before we go in like 20 seconds?
Yeah, so when the Bible says, he that findeth a good thing obtaineth favor, you need to understand finding a good thing is not just finding a person. Finding a good thing is finding purpose in motion. So favor can't be unlocked until you find your spouse, your wife, because the favor comes from the woman. So you got to be connected to the woman to get God's favor in your life. So your purpose really doesn't actually start really speedballing until you find the wife that God has for you.
Love it, love it, love it. Listen, this has been another episode. We've been blessed and favored of God. I want you to join us for the Super Bowl Sunday, the blockbuster, at 10:30 a.m. At CLCC. The information is on the screen. Get in touch, please. Send an email or make a phone call. We are going to be looking out for you on Sunday, and I'm telling you, your life will never be the same again. Christ loves you, and I need you to know that. This has been really great. We've had a great series on relationship, and I trust that you were blessed and favored of the Lord. So I want you to subscribe to the channel, stay connected. For anyone that's out of the area, you can watch us on Sundays as well, as the services are streaming live. And we'll be back next week with another episode. Bless you and stay blessed. Blessings to everyone. Listen, this podcast has been possible because of the faithful givers that have been giving. So the giving information is on the screen, and want you to really give to the ministry so that we can continue the work of God. CLCC is doing an amazing thing spiritually all over the city of New York and where we are. So I want you to just be a part of what God is doing. And teamwork makes the dream work. So as you seed, we'll continually to grow and go into more places and spaces. God bless you.
It is our desire to keep you posted on what's happening here at Changing Lives Christian Center. So please pull out your smart devices so you can take notes and save dates.
CLCC ladies, friends, and family, it's that time again. You're invited to another I'm My Sister's Keeper's fellowship. Our theme for this new season is all about women in the Word. Some of our forum discussions will include topics about relationships with an emphasis on marriage and singlehood, breaking cycles of addictions and stagnation, and how fasting and prayer is the key to breaking these cycles. So bottom line, ladies, no subject is off the table. If it's in the Word, then we will be discussing it. Because it's all about what God is saying about us as women. Again, I would like to invite you to join me, Pastor Yaz, and CLCC's women on this Thursday, February the 27th at 7:30 p.m. And by God's grace, you don't want to miss this session. Light refreshments will be served, and please, please don't be late. Bring a friend, and I look forward to seeing you. God bless you.
Your 2024 year-end statements are now available via email. Statements will be issued from January 26th to March 30th. Email your request to infodesk@clccministries.com or sign up at the info desk in the lobby. Do you need prayer? It doesn't matter for what. CLCC is here to stand in prayer with you and for you. Let's take it to the Lord, for He cares about all of the needs you have. God has commanded us to always pray and not faint. His word declares that when we pray, believing, that He will always answer. So join CLCC's prayer leaders Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. That's right, 30 minutes for prayer and encouragement to start your day. We look forward to you calling into our conference prayer line, 646-769-9900. Access code 82551. Remember, come and dial believing. The Master awaits your prayer request. Join CLCC in remembrance of current world events.